Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. Good evening, gentlemen. I feel like I just jumped out of bed, and maybe I did. Anyway, so tonight is a special night. It's actually, today was a very, very special Yortzeit. Does anyone remember what I told you? The Leshem. It was the Leshem. It was the Leshem Yortzeit today. Now, the truth is, you could even say, according to some shittas, that it's still the Leshem's Yortzeit, believe it or not. I'm going to tell you about that in a second. But first of all, I just want to talk about him a little bit, briefly, because the Leshem was very, 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 very significant in general, and especially within our group of what we're learning. So, the Leshem is the famous Rav Al Yashiv, the famous Pasuk Gadol Hador Tzadik Hador that passed away just a few years ago. Right? When was it? Not long ago, right? 4 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it was, something like that. The Leshem was his grandfather, his Zayda. Okay, and as a matter of fact, this Rabbi Al Yashiv that just passed away recently, he was the one that set up the Torahs and the Svarim. This is actually a newer edition, but there was an edition before this, maybe even more than one edition. He was the one who actually went through the manuscripts and set it up and got it prepared for print. The Leshem was probably considered the greatest Makubal of his door. He passed away about 99 years ago in Yerushalayim. He was born in Europe, but he passed away in Yerushalayim. The Leshem, we owe so much to the Leshem. The Leshem, this is just one volume of many, many volumes of the Leshem. The Leshem took the entire system of the Arizal, and the Arizal is always something that has always been difficult to understand, always, necessarily. And even as much as you may explain the Arizal, it will always be, there will always certainly be a level of difficulty in understanding the Arizal, always. The Leshem broke through, and he wrote many, many volumes. He took the entire system of the Arizal and put it all together and explained it. And he's very, very marech. When I say marech, it means he wrote a lot to explain the inyanim. An extremely significant thing that the Leshem did that most other Mekubalim did not do is that he. No problem. I've spoken about it many times. I don't want to go into it in detail now. But there were two great Talmidim of the Arizal. The one that everyone's familiar with is Morenu Harav Chaim Vital. And most of the Torah that we have is coming through the pen of Morenu Harav Chaim Vital. However, there was a second Talmud that was also extremely great that many people don't know about. I've spoken about him many times. His name was Harav Yisrael Saruk. Some people pronounce it Sarug. It's not known if it's really a kuf or a gimel. Most people say it seems to be it was a kuf. Rabbi Yisrael Saruk. And Rabbi Yisrael Saruk speaks about all kinds of oilamois that Harav Chaim Vital does not speak about, and that presents problems. And how come Rav Chaim didn't speak about it? And how come Rav Chaim never knew him? Rav Chaim Vital, the whole issue. I don't want to go into the issues because I've spoken about them before. However, most people studying Kisvei Arizal today are mostly studying using Harav Chaim Vital, which is the way to go. However, the Leshem in this volume, at the second half, he has a parak called Shar HaPoine Kodim, and in that Shar he takes the system of Morenu Harav Yisrael Saruk, and he's makatzer that with all kinds of interesting diagrams And to make a long story short, we owe a lot of Hakaras Hatov to the Leshem, of course, for everything that he writes and explains to us the Torah of Rav Chaim Vital. However, we owe a lot to the Leshem because the Leshem devoted a whole entire section of his Sefer to the Torah of Rabbi Yisrael Saruk, and also flushing out and explaining the system of the Torah of Yisrael Saruk, which really, they work together, these two work together. Harav Itchemeyer Morgenstern Yerushalayim, he should be Gezint, is considered from the greatest Mekubalim today on the planet, and he works very, very hard to put together these two systems of Rabbi Yisrael Saruk and Harav Chaim Vital. And he has and it's not exactly clear exactly how they fit together, but he has a lot of theories on how they fit together. Yeah. One theory? A sample of one theory is, you see, it's complicated. However, I'll tell you because you asked me, I'll tell you very quickly. I don't want to devote too much time to this, but you asked me, I'm going to try to answer the question. We had explained already in previous shurim that there is an oilam called Adam Kadmon. And Rav Chaim Vital says, above Adam Kadmon, what was above that, we do not talk about. We don't talk about it. In other words, it seems like he's even saying, like, we don't have permission to talk about it. Comes Rabbi Yisrael Saruk, and he starts talking, and he talks about Oilamos Ein Sof above Ak Adam Kadmon, and not only that, but heavy detail of things that preceded the world of Adam Kadmon. One of these Oilamos are called Oilam HaMalbush, and Oilam HaMalbush was very in the Beis HaMedrash of the Gra. This was a very, very basic to their limit of their understanding of the Torah of the Rizal, and even the famous Sefer, the Talmud of the Gra, the Nefesh HaChaim, Harav Chaim Volozhner, in his masterpiece called the Nefesh HaChaim, in the fourth parak, which all the yeshivas, they skip the first three parakim, but they do learn the fourth. It speaks about Olam HaMalbush. And so, to make a long story short, Harav Morgenstern puts together, he explains to you where the Olam HaMalbush and where all these other Olamas fit into the system of Rav Chaim Vital. That's Morgenstern, yes. Morgenstern's very, very much into the Torah of course, the Torah of Rav Chaim Vital, but very, very into the Torah of Rabbi Yisrael Saruk, and has published many. It has published certain svarim to explain it and put it together, and he's very, very into that. So we have tremendous hakaras hatov to the Leshem for everything that the Leshem did, but especially this thing, and the Leshem is crying out. If you'll learn the second half of this sefer is called Hakdamas V'Sha'arim. This is I believe this is the first sefer. If you're starting to learn the Leshem, this is the one that he wanted you to learn first. It's his Hakdama. In the second half of this, in the Shara Poina Kadim, he writes, he's crying that the Torah of Rabbi Yisrael Saruk is much higher than the Torah of Harav Moreinu Harav Chaim Vital.
Wow.
That's 100%. It's higher literally because it's talking about higher places. And he says no one's learning it. And he's lamenting. He's saying it's sitting in the corners, no one's touching it, and he's so upset about it. And he says that this is the reason why I'm devoting a very big section of my Sefer to explain this Torah. And he even mentions all of the main svarim that explain the Torah of Moreinu Harav Yisrael Saruk, which are such as the Noivlas Chachma, and the Emek HaMelech, and Sharei Gan Eden, and there's another major one, Vayakol Moshe, and there's others too. But these four are considered the bread and butter of the Torah of Moreinu Harav Yisrael Saruk. Oh, and how can I forget? And the Ramami Pano. Ramami Pano is called the greatest Mekubalim of Europe in his time, and he is a Talmud of Moren Harav Yisrael Saruk, and he wrote many Sforim based on this amazing Torah. Okay, so I hope I did it. I hope I did it justice. Kind of. I mean, somewhat justice. Okay. Okay. Point number 2. I came across this quite amazing book. It's called The Scroll of Secrets, and I just wanted to introduce everyone to this book. What it says here on the cover is The Hidden Messianic Vision of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, written by Tzvi Mark. Now, Tzvi Mark actually wrote it in Hebrew, and it's been translated. Tzvi Mark is considered, as far as I know, he's an Erlechid, Shem Shabbos, and he's considered, he's a very intellectual person, and he does research. And this is a fantastic book. It's maybe not for everyone, and I'll tell you why. The history of this book, or what's going on over here, is actually quite fascinating. Rav Nachman was once sitting on the back of a wagon. I don't remember where they were traveling. It's all in the book. But even before this book, there's a whole Masorah of this in the Chassidus of Breslov. That at one time Rav Nachman was sitting at the back of a wagon, and he was sitting with his 2 close Talmidim, and also his son-in-law was in the back. And you got to read the book, but Rav Nachman starts talking about how the Mashiach is coming, when the Mashiach is coming, and specific details about the Mashiach that nobody ever speaks about. And he tells, and he it's extremely interesting, the things that he says. And at the end of the conversation, he says, this has to remain totally secret, because we're talking about the highest secret of things. And it seems that Rav Nachman's son-in-law, it seems that there was some concern if he could keep the secret. And one of the Talmidim whispered this to Rav Nachman. He says, don't worry about it. I'll take care of that. And anyways, Rav Nachman gives them instructions not to reveal the things that he wrote, that he spoke about. So they actually took notes, and they took even the notes that they took. They wrote down the notes in a very secretive way with Rosh Tevis and hints and ramazim, and so they didn't even write clearly down what Rav Nachman said. And this manuscript was passed on from generation to generation in Breslov, and till now it was extremely secretive. They knew in Breslov there is such a thing, but not everyone had it, and even if you had it, you couldn't understand it. So this, but what ended up happening was this it became available. And this Rabbi Tzvi Mark, I'm not sure if he goes by rabbi actually, he wrote an entire book on, first of all, he'll show you pictures of the manuscript, and he also talks a lot about the different theories of what it means. It's a fantastic book, and even besides all the information about this secret scroll, there's a lot of fantastic information about Rav Nachman himself and his Talmidim. A lot of good historical information. I really am enjoying the book. I haven't completed the book, but to me it's very kedai to get this book. You can for sure get it on Amazon. I think I got it on Amazon.
Here we go.
You found it on Amazon? Okay, so there you go. But again, you got to take everything with a grain of salt, because this book is only the opinion of Tzvi Mark, okay? And it doesn't mean everything that he's saying is Torah's emes. It might be, I don't know. But this whole thing is very secretive, and it's questionable if anybody ever knew what this manuscript really meant. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt, but the book is a fascinating book, no question.
So I won't go off the derech
No, you won't go off the diaphragm. Okay, gentlemen. Let's try to get into our sefer a little bit. Okay, so I gotta find the place where we were explaining till here. Really okay? Sure.
Kuf Tzadik Base, I think.
Which one? Kuf Tzadik Base. Kuf Tzadik Base. Okay, perfect. Okay, so what we were talking about was, we were talking about the Heichalois. So what we had said is that when we are davening Shachris in the morning, we are going on a journey, and the journey is that we are spiritually going through the four worlds. The lowest world is called the Asiya, that's the section of Korbanos, and that's why we try never to skip the Korbanos if we can help it. And then we graduate after there, we go to Psukei de Zimra, which is connected the world of Yetzirah, and from there we travel to the section of Yotzer Or V'Choshech, Kriya Shema and Birchoi Seha. We travel to the Olam of Bria, and then Shemona Esrei is the Olam of Atzilus, and that's where everything that you've accomplished is getting processed, and then it gets processed in the world of Atzilus, and then it comes down through the other three worlds, and all the brachas and all the blessing and all good stuff that you've done before comes down, and that's why it's also very important to daven from the very beginning till the very end, because if you do that, you're doing it the way that the Chazal had it prepared, and that is the real way that all the shefa comes down. So if you can, I know sometimes we wake up late, and I know we're rushing, and we know we have to be at work on time. I know, believe me, I know. I also struggle with it. I'm telling everyone, if possible, start at the beginning, try as much as you can to start at the very beginning of davening and go to the end. That means to say, start at the very beginning of brachas, don't skip anything, and end by Elim L'Shabeach. That is the way that in Yitz Hashem, the brachas come down in the most straightforward way. Okay, so we were talking about on our journey in Shachris in the morning when we get to the third world. So we've passed through Asiya, we've passed through Yetzirah, and now we're in the third world called Bria, going up. In the world of Bria, there are 7 Heichalois. Heichalois. Heichal can be translated in different ways. One way is a chamber, or a room, or a palace. That's called a Heichal. I've shown in the past, I don't have it with me now, but I've shown in the past that if you use a Kabbalistic siddur, in the section of Yotzer Or, they will show you when you are passing through one of these Heichalos. So, in this section of Sefer Sifsei Chein, we are talking about these Heichalos and what they're all about. Should we start at Hey? Should we start at Kuf? You said Kuf Tzadik Base is where we left off?
That's where I'm marked.
That's where you marked?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so why don't we start at Hey Kuf Tzadik Base? Okay, so at Kuf Tzadik Base, on the third line from the middle, in the middle section, the third line where it says Hey. Bereish Birkas Ahavas Oilam. Oilam the Heichal HaChamishi, Hanikra Heichal HaHava. In the beginning of the bracha of Ahavas Oilam, right? Some people say Ahava Rabba, depending on if you daven Nus. I think Ashkenaz says Ahava Rabba, I think. And I think Svard says Ahavas Oilam. I believe so. And it could be there's some Svard that say this way and some Ashkenaz say the other way. But anyway, when you get to that bracha, Oilin leheichal hachamishi, we rise to the 5th chamber or palace, Hanikra heichal ahava, ha'ahava, which is called the heichal of ahava, the palace of love. Vehu neged sfiras chesed. Now, every one of these heichalos are connected a different sfira in the world of Bria. So just as a little review, each one of these worlds has 10 spheres, right? So So when you in Asiya you have 10 series, you have Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, you have the whole thing, and the same thing in Bria and Yitzir. So now the Heichal of Ahava in the world of Bria is connected the Sfira of Chesed. So what's the significance of that Heichal is connected the Sfira of Chesed? Because in that Heichal, that is where it is awakened, the love of Hashem to Am Yisrael is awakened in that Heichal. And what's awakened in that Heichal is the great chesed, the great kindness that Hashem gave us when He gave us His Torah. Ba zoichen lahamshich hachasadim kedei ad kedei kiruv hageula. So he says that this is a place that traditionally we slow down in davening. Okay, so obviously when we're davening in the morning, it's going quickish because everyone has to get to work, most of us. However, there is a thing that when you get to this bracha of Ahavas Olam or Ahava Rabbah, that you slow down. You especially see this, I daven in Babiv. Babiv on Shabbos, it goes very slow. It goes very loud and very slow. And that's because on Shabbos, of course, we're not rushing, we have extra time. So what he says here is that if you daven slowly, that bracha, you say it slowly.
Where is
I have a circle. Right, the bracha right before Kriya Shema in Chakras every morning. If you say it slowly, you will merit to bring down chasadim, to bring down Hashem's kindness, ad kedei kiruv hageula, until the geula comes. Now, look now on the side, please. We have a comment Lamed Beis. So we're looking now on the right side, towards the bottom. There's in the Rashi Oisius, there's a footnote Lamed Beis, and he writes here kiruv hageula. So what does this mean? That we should say it slowly. If we say it slowly, we will merit to bring down chasadim until the geula comes, or until the closeness of the geula of the redemption. What does this mean?
Say what slowly? I missed it.
If you say the bracha slowly, you'll be zoiche to draw down the chasadim, the kindnesses, ad kedei kiruv hagula, until bringing the redemption close. So he's going to explain what this means. Sorry? Okay, so he's going to say Hatamavur la'el. The reason is brought down above. Ois lamed kivan shebebracha halazeh he neged chesed Avraham shehi hamerkava lemidas ahava. So not only everything matches up. So not only is this Heichal connected the Sfira Chesed, but it's also connected one of our avos, which is Avram Avinu, because Avram Avinu, his middle was Chesed, right? He sat in the tents and he invited over the three malachim, and his whole thing was Chesed. He was Makar of the world to avoid the Hashem through Chesed. Al Kain, therefore, Marichin boy harbe. We are very marach in this bracha. That means we say it very slowly. And this will give a reason. L'shavach alma shekasa b'tolos Yaakov Yosef. The Sefer Tolos Yaakov Yosef was the very first sefer ever printed. Just historically, the Misnagdim were not happy about it, and it was burnt many times. But Baruch Hashem, we have the Sefer today. It was written by one of the greatest Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov. His name was Yaakov Yosef from Polnoi, was the place he was from. and from the greatest Talmidim of Baal Shem Tov, he wrote the first Chassidic Sefer. Shamati, so this is what he wrote, and most, by the way, most of the Torahs that we have today, most of the Torahs that we have today from the Baal Shem Tov are what he recorded in his Sefer Toldos Yaakov Yosef. And not only that, there's even some discussion of why he was not the one to take over after the Baal Shem Tov passed away. In fact, the Mizritcher Magid was. It says that we have a Masorah that the Baal Shem Tov had a son, Tzvi Hirsch, who took over for 1 year. After that year, the Baal Shem Tov came to him and said, "Pass it on to the Rebbe Reber, the Mizritcher Magid." There is a question that if Harav Yaakov Yosef was such a great Talmud of the Baal Shem Tov, why did the leadership not pass to him? So there are two answers that they suggest. One suggestion is because he wasn't that same type of leader that the Rebbe Reber was, and the project by the Rebbe Reber was to chap. The project, it was like that by the Baal Shem Tov also, but the Rebbe Reber took this to a whole new level of capturing the greatest tzaddikim and Talmidei Chachamim and Mekubalim in Europe. Capturing them means bring them into the Chassidic movement, initiate them, make them rebbes, and then they would go to other cities and they would find Talmidim, and this is how the whole thing spread out. And Baruch Hashem, the Chassidic movement basically took over the entire Eastern Europe and parts of Hungary and parts of Russia, etc., etc., etc. So why am I saying this? So one possibility is that the personality of Harav Yaakov Yosef from Polnoi was not this chapping, charismatic type of personality, and the Baal Shem Tov therefore didn't want him to take over the leadership of the Chassidus. That is one possibility. The second possibility, which is very interesting, is that the Toldos Yaakov Yosef was a very, very good recorder. He was very, very good at hearing things and writing them down and explaining them. And the Baal Shem Tov made a cheshbon that if I make the Harav Yaakov Yosef the leader, he's going to be too busy leading the Chassidus, grabbing, chopping this tzaddik, that. He would not have time to write and to publish this very, 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 very important sefer that ended up coming out. And actually, he wrote down. He has a few svarim that were published from him, and most of the Torahs of Baal Shem Tov came from him, are recorded by him. So that's the second reason why possibly he was not chosen to lead the Chassidus after Harav Tzvi Hirsch. Okay, so that was just a side note. It says in Sefer Yaakov Yosef, Shamati. This is how he always talks in that Sefer from Parshas Ve'era. Shamati, I heard B'Shem Moiri, in the name of my master, Maran HaBaal Shem Tov, Zichronoi L'chai Olam Haba, Shenamar Loi Mishamayim Tam Icher Bias HaMashiach She'ein Marichen Be'ahava Rabba. Ayin Sham. Unbelievable. The Baal Shem Tov, he records that the Baal Shem Tov told him that it was told to the Baal Shem Tov min hashamayim, that means whatever that means. From Shemayim they told the Baal Shem Tov that the reason that Mashiach is taking so long to come is because the Yidden are not marich in a Havarabba in the morning by Shachris. Can you imagine? So this is what is recorded in Sefer Toldos Yaakov Yosef.
They're too busy saying Avo Solomon, that's why.
Could also be. Oh, I see. Ooh, I see that I have to renew my Zoom because my meeting is going to end in 10 minutes and I'm on the old Siddur. Okay, it's all good. So, David, if you get cut off, I really do apologize. Someone should remind me after, please, this week I have to pay Zoom. And then I'll get the longer Zoom time. What time are we at now?
We're at 9:27.
We're at 9:27. Okay, we're going to see if We'll see if there'll be a marav. Let's keep moving. So that's his point. So his point is that's what he just said. He said again. I'm gonna reread what we had said in the middle. When we're marach in the bracha of Ahavas Olam or Ahava Rabbah, we bring on the chasadim ad kadei kach that this actually brings the geula closer, according to what the Baal Shem Tov was told. Min hashamayim, vav. Can we keep going a little bit? Yes. Vav. Achar kriyas shema ba'miras v'yatziv v'nachoin. So after kriyas, then we learn Krishma in the morning by Shachris, and then we come to the section right after Krishma called v'yatziv v'nachoin. Right. When we get over there, Oilin leheichal hashishi, we rise to the sixth heichal, hanikra heichal haratzoin. Listen, these names are moirdik. One heichal is called heichal the chamber of love, and the next one is the chamber of desire, heichal haratzoin. It's moirdik. So we rise to the heichal haratzoin, the chamber of desire. V'hu neged sfiras tiferes, and the chamber of desire, the heichal haratzoin, is connected the sfira of tiferes.
It doesn't Rabbeinu talk about Ratzon, and he says that's like the prime driver of it.
1,000% right. 1,000% right. And what Reb Chaim is saying here is that's the bottom line. It's all about a person's ratzon. That's what it's all about. If a person has a ratzon, ein hadavar, what does Chazal say? Ein hadavar oimed bifnei haratzon. If a person really wants something, im yetz Hashem, he will get it. 100%. Ratzon is considered the highest thing, and not only that. It's interesting here that it said Tiferes, because in general, I think we say Keser is connected to Ratzon, because that's the highest. Keser is the highest sphere, and Ratzon seems to be the highest thing. That's a very good ha'ara. Okay, now we're gonna go. Maybe we can do it. If you guys are okay with it, can we have a few more minutes? Or we have to? Yeah. Okay, let's go for it. If not, we'll continue next week in Yitzhak Hashem. So we're on Lamed Gimel. Now go to the left side in the Rashi Oisius, Tiferes. He said Heichal Haratzoin is connected the Sfira of Tiferes. Lamed Gimel, Tiferes. Lefi Seder Sfiras Mimata Lamala Hayaroi Sheyia Mikoidem Heichal Haratzoin Shu Tiferes. V'achakach Heichle Haschus V'ahava Shehem Gevura V'chesed. Okay, so this is he's asking here a very, 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 very basic question. The question is like this: that as a general rule, when we're moving up in the world, we're starting from the lowest place in that world, and we are moving to the highest place in that world gradually. That means to say, when we start our journey in the morning by Shachris in the world of Asiya, we're starting in Malchus of Asiya, because Malchus is the lowest of 10 spheres, and every world has 10 spheres. So we're starting at Malchus of Asiya, and then we graduate to the next sphere up, which is Yesoid. Then we move to Yesoid of Asiya, and then we move to Hoid of Asiya, then we move to Netzach of Asiya, and that's how we move up. So that's the general rule. Then when we get to the Keser of Asiya, which is the highest place in the lowest world, then we graduate to the next world, and we get to Malchus of Yetzirah. And as a matter of fact, the Svarim speak that it could even be that these two are the same thing. In other words, listen to this: the Keser of Asiya is the Malchus of Yetzirah. It's the same thing, because you're going a floor up, right? Yeah, good. Yeah, very good. So fine. So that's how it's always working through all the worlds. Now all of a sudden you come to Bria, and the order changes. Why does the order change? So it works like this. It works like this. So we had said, so far everything was fine. So we had said we started with the oilam of livnas hasapir, right? And that was Keneged, Yesoid, and Malchus. Okay, so we're starting from the bottom. Then we went to the Heichal called Etzem Hashemayim, which is Keneged Hoid. So we're moving up perfectly, everything's in order. Then we went to the Heichal Noiga, which is Keneged Netzach, everything's great in order. Then we moved to the Heichal HaZchus. Now this is where there's an issue. Heichal HaZchus is Keneged the Sfira of Gevura. Okay, so that's not the order. The order is that the one above Netzach is Tiferes. So why? So what's going on here? According to this, the Heichal of Schus should be connected to the sphere of Tiferes, if we're going in order, but it's not. It's connected to the sphere of Gevura. Does anyone understand the question? Okay, so that's then the Heichal Ahava is connected to the sphere of Chesed. So now we're continuing to going up. But guess what? We missed out Tiferes. We skipped Tiferes. Does everyone understand the question? Right? And then when we get to the next highest Heichal called Heichal Ratzon, it's connected to Tiferes. So he's asking a basic question. Is how did we skip Tiferes? How does that work? How do you walk up a ladder and skip a whole rung? And then that rung is later on in a higher place when it's supposed to be in a lower place. What's going on? That's his question. Okay, here's the answer. Hatamhu. This is the reason. Lefi shepeulois ha'echalois hatachtoinim hu lahalois es ma'aser hatachtoinim lemala ve'hatoira nimtzes betiferes ka'amram zal im brachos ve'tiferes ze matan Torah ve'ein lagia le'Torah b'maasim mekulkolim chas v'shalom lochein oilim mekoidem leheichal azchus. I'm going to explain everything. Sheba danim es ma'ase b'nei adam v'zeh hageder ishmira la'adam she'isnahi keshura al yedei zeh pachad hadin nishmarim nishmarim b'nei adam shelo yishmeu Ela Yetzirah Lavor al Divrei Torah. L'chein makdimin hagevura. L'zakech es b'nei ha'adam koyim she'egiu ela tiferes l'kabel ha'Torah. L'chesed ha'gevura I efshar lahafrid. Ki mitzreich tzrichi shechesed yimtik esadin esmid esadin akasha. And that comes from Masik Midrash. Here's the answer. The answer is like this: that we need, as we're moving up, we need a cleansing experience. We need to cleanse ourselves in order to be able to get up to these higher places. The place of this cleansing is this place. It's called Heichal Haratzon, which is Keneged Tiferes. In Heichal Haratzon, he said here, let me read it again. L'chein oilin mekoidem laheichal hazchus. Sorry. Heichal hazchus. I'm confused. We went to Heichal HaZchus out of order. Why did we go to Heichal HaZchus out of order? Because in Heichal HaZchus, that's where we get judged. And when we get judged, we get purified over there. And this is how it writes, Ki al yedei pachad hadin nishmarim b'nei ha'adam shelo yishmi al yetzirah, because this is a place of, we go into this world, the Heichal HaZchus is a world of din, and we become afraid in the world of din. That means we're being judged. In that place, spiritually, I mean, if you experience the davening according to this sefer as you're davening, so what's supposed to happen is when you go into the Heichal Schus, you're supposed to feel the pachad of din, because that is the place where we are being judged, and we're supposed to do tshuva over there. And once we've done tshuva over there, that purifies us. The Heichal Tiferes is the Heichal that we have, that we're Mokabel the Torah and Ahava Rabbah. That's what it's called. The whole bracha Ahava Rabbah is a bracha about being Mokabel the Torah. We need to come in there pure and clean. So we have to. So we skip to what would normally be a higher Heichal in order to have the pachad, the fear of judgment, because over there in that heichal you get judged, and we do tshuva, and then we proceed to go to the heichal of ahava, I'm all confused, of ahava, and then we can be makabel Torah because we've already done tshuva and we have purified ourselves. I forgot to mention, but the only reason that we're allowed to say these to be learning this is not in order to be flying through Shemayim, but only to connect on a higher, deeper level with Hashem, with Deveikus, and this is the reason why the Baal Shem Tov and in fact the Arizal had permission to reveal these great things to Klal Yisrael. In Yitzhak Hashem, we will continue next week. Gentlemen, thank you for coming.
Thank you.